Love Hurts is fighting its way through theaters and fighting pretty abysmal reviews, but did I love it or did watching it, well, hurt? Stick around and I will let you know my thoughts. Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Sean Morgan and I love movies. I especially love movies about love, so I was pretty open minded going into Love Hurts. Love Hurts is the directorial debut of Jonathan Eusebio. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. Jonathan Eusebio worked in the stunt department of movies like The Fall Guy, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and the John Wick films, among many others, frankly. Due to that fact, I was expecting some pretty great action throughout this film. The movie has been marketed, Love Hurts, I mean, has been marketed as an action comedy of sorts. The three writers on this film don't exactly have a lot of comedies to their names. The most notable of the three writers credited, Josh Stoddard, isn't someone I'm super familiar with, but his biggest credit seems to be on the martial arts television show Warrior. I'm sure that show is good, but the premise does not exactly scream funny to me. So, Love Hurts is about a realtor played by Academy Award winner Ki Kwan, who gets pulled back into his former life as a mob assassin when a loose end he failed to tie up resurfaces and starts causing trouble. That loose end is Rose, played by Academy Award winner Ariana DeBose, who is a former flame of Kwan's. The characters are former flames, not the real life actors, of course. So these two characters reconnect. They have to sort through their respective pasts while Kwan's mobster brother, played by Daniel Wu, sends various assassins after them. Rounding out the cast are various actors playing those assassins, namely Marshawn Lynch and Luke Cage's Mustafa Shakir. Other comedic presences pop up here and there, of course, most notably Sean Astin as a pretty memorable sort of cowboy aw shucks figure. Astin is always welcome in my eyes, and it's cute that he and Ki Kwan got to reunite on this film after their work together in The Goonies. The Goonies is not something that I regard in particular as a classic. I think I saw it past the point where it would have been formative for me, but I do like that movie, and it's nice that they got to have a little bit of a reunion there. Let me cut to the chase, though, and let you know right away that Love Hurts doesn't really work. It is neither funny enough nor romantic enough to really come together in any meaningful way. And while some of the action is clearly well choreographed and clever, it is not substantive to the degree that I recommend somebody go to see this movie in theaters if they are like an action junkie who just like wants to see some crazy cool fights. Frankly, even though I enjoy many of the actors in the movie, I struggle to even really recommend that, those aforementioned action junkies seek this out, even when it drops on streaming. Like, I'm sure like you would have a decent time with it if you have like a lazy afternoon that you're trying to see something and you're like an action head. And yeah, I don't know. Even then, I'm like, I feel like maybe you could find something better out there in the ether. Cool fight choreography does go a long way for me, and I genuinely really love Valentine's Day. So, I think setting it around that time of year is cute, but there's just not enough meat on the bone here to keep the audience truly engaged, or at least not enough to keep this audience member truly engaged. The conspiracy that unfolds among the various mobsters is not really that interesting. The comedy bits and unexpected romances that bud between civilians and assassins, nothing really elicits very many laughs in that department with any of these jokes or these kind of budding pairs of lovebirds. I don't know. The actual romantic elements when they're supposed to be romantic didn't really make me feel anything. And particularly the big romantic chemistry between Ariana DeBose and Ki Kwan that would ideally be required to make this film work. That kind of chemistry feels non-existent. Um, I like both of these two performers on their own, and I don't believe that either of their Oscar wins are undeserved or anything of that nature. But the spark of romance between their two characters in this film, you know, as we learn throughout the course of the movie, their kind of romance apparently kicks off the entire event chain of the movie. So it would, be important that we feel something as the audience when they have like a romantic interaction and we just don't, or at least I didn't. I didn't buy them for a second as like amorous in any real way. Ki Kwan gets more of a pass as far as this kind of dud of a movie goes because his post Oscar credits have been sparser than Ariana DeBose, frankly, or at least more low profile. I thought he was decent in Loki season 2. I didn't really see or rather hear his performance in the fourth Kung Fu Panda movie, which I'm pretty sure he is fine in, if I had to take a guess. However, Ariana DeBose needs to get new representation, and that needs to happen like right away. Not including the Disney film Wish, which I actually, thought was fine. I liked it just fine. I know people have very differing opinions on that film, but even if we exclude Wish, DeBose's post-Oscar win credits include Argyle, Craven the Hunter, and now Love Hurts. Her collection of credits after a phenomenal turn in West Side Story is just remarkably bad. I am rooting for her. I think she's super talented, but this cannot continue if she wants to kind of remain a major Hollywood player. That's just my opinion. Maybe she is totally fine with, taking these kind of candy colored roles in, relatively well distributed movies and maintaining a presence at the box office that way, just like being present and getting paychecks and then bouncing and doing more Broadway stuff. Maybe that's her plan. But, if she wants to continue being like a serious capital F film actor, I think she needs to fire whoever is putting her in these films or convincing her that these are good ideas. Um, so, the action in Love Hurts is well staged enough, but it could feel more propulsive overall. Sometimes it doesn't really feel like the hits that we see people landing are like unfolding with true force or true oomph. The real drag here, though, is definitely the script, as I alluded to earlier in this video. It's just not crystallized in any real way. Like, yes, for example, it's mildly funny to see Ke Huy Quan go from cheery realtor to a guy who is breaking bones and sending people through windows, but the dichotomy of that can't really sustain the movie on its own, right? Like, it's a funny bit that can only take you so far. Um, it's entertaining, for example, to see Ke Huy Quan fight two assassins in such a way where he maintains protection of his Realtor of the Year award. He keeps it from getting damaged because it's so important to him because, oh, shucks, isn't he so sweet? You know, that's funny, sure, but bits like that are too few and far between throughout the course of the runtime. There's just too much that this movie is trying to do, even over the course of a short runtime, and it gets spread thin way too quickly. It's not romantic enough. It's not populated with enough amazing show-stopping action, and it's not particularly great in terms of comedy either. There's a layer of artifice and sheen to everything, which may just be me overreaching, but stay with me here for a second while I try to articulate it with a particular metaphor. So many of the fight sequences and major moments take place in these luxurious, ready to be sold staged homes because Ke Huy Quan's character is a realtor. And that's fine as like a character decision to make that his job, but it means that a large portion of the runtime forces the audience to be looking at these kind of very sterile HGTV looking sets. Nothing feels lived in or like it has very much history. And I feel like that vibe kind of seeps into all of the other areas of the film in a way that makes its flaws even more apparent. Like, it just makes everything feel so corporatized, like Valentine's Day does to all of the haters out there who think of it as only a corporate holiday. I hope that criticism makes sense. Like, obviously, many films are corporate products. Most films are corporate products, but you don't really want to be hyper aware of that while you're watching something, right? And this film just kind of fails to disabuse you of that notion. So, where ultimately would Love Hurts score on my scale list of where would it score rather on my list of A list, amazing, average, abysmal, or needs to be abolished? I wasn't really disgusted with the movie or anything, but I was certainly disappointed. So this gets a rating of abysmal. This is a 2 to 2.5 star film if I've ever seen one. Just like on paper, some pretty interesting promise, but no real follow through, no meaningful follow through, and particularly having it marketed as, you know, having two Oscar winners as its leads. That was really something they leaned on in the movie, and neither of them really comes out of the movie wowing me in any real way. Like, I know that each of them is capable, I know each of them is likable, but here I'm like, oh yeah, I guess, I'm glad they got paid. But like, that's not a good feeling to have walking out of a movie. You want to be like excited about the future of their careers or excited about the future of the filmmaker, or and I just didn't really feel any of that walking out of the theater. So I saw this film as a part of an experiment where I see as many movies as possible with AMC A-List in a single year, and I may retire that bit as AMC has announced they are expanding A-List slots to 4 per week, and filling 4 slots a week instead of 3 sounds crazy. But you can let me know in the comments if you want me to continue that particular experiment. I saved $10.99 on this particular screening, so I'm glad to have saved money on a movie ticket, even if I didn't think the film was particularly great. Anyways, did you see Love Hurts? If you did, what did you think about it? Were you as frustrated as me with the end result here? Do you like Valentine's Day? Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. Obviously, Valentine's Day has passed. I was in the process of moving. As you can see, I have a different background, a very barren background that I intend to change. But I would have released this before Valentine's Day, but just did not really have the time to do so. However, I still wanted to come and talk about it because what an interesting kind of flop of a movie. Anyway, feel free to also like this video or subscribe to the channel. You can do both of those things. You can do neither of those things. But if you do, keep up with me here. You will get all of my thoughts on new releases as they come out in the theater. Until then, stay safe. Bye.